Reaper of the Cards has come for your deck. That's right. I'm sorry. My name's Doug. How you doing? I'm the Reaper of the Cards. Here's the thing. I'm really sorry to tell you this, but your deck is it's all used up. It's old. It's time to let it go. Okay, so just lay your deck out for me, and I'll come and get it tonight. I'm new at this job. I'm really sorry. I hope I nailed the entrance, but aside from that, yeah. I had to reap this guy's Shadow deck last week, and he wasn't that happy about it, chasing me down the street with a baseball bat. So look, man, I don't take pleasure in what I do, okay? It is a fundamental law of the universe. Archetypes gotta end. That's just how it has to work. No one understands me, man. No one understands me.
Ha! Ha ha! Would you believe it smells like vanilla for some reason? That was a trippy thing. I put this mask on and I'm like, is that freaking vanilla? Vanilla scented scream masks. I don't know. Anyway, hey everybody, Tekking here, and welcome to another spooktacular video for the month of October. We're going to be delving into the various scary aspects of Yu-Gi-Oh! And to show you that I'm serious, I'm gonna leave that door open the entire time. Yes, I am truly demented in a way that cannot be expressed by mortal man. But today's video is going to be all about PaniK, the player killer, or the eliminator, as it was in the 4Kids dub. Player killer. Okay, there's two words that make that up, and there's one of them that I don't think 4Kids would really approve of all that much there. But really this focuses on a particular part of the duel, the end of it, where Yugi launches a knight at a giant castle, knocks off its flotation ring, which causes the castle to crumble down and destroy all of PaniK's monsters. And you know, some people might bring up the fun fact, not really a fun fact, it's that, hey Matt, you know, is it really fair to criticize those little scenes from the first season of Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters? I mean, after all, they were just adapting it from the manga. The card game didn't even exist yet, or if it did exist, it was in its really early stages, and the anime was already made. So, I mean, that's the reason why, you know, Yugi did the whole destroy the moon thing in his duel with Mako, and the whole Dragon Knight, Castle Gambit, Catapult Turtle, and later on, when we get into the duels with Kaiba and Pegasus, the infinite Kuribo counter. Yeah, you're right about that. The card game didn't exist, and I'm aware of that too, but it's still a really weird thing that I want to talk about. That's the whole point of this. And also, you gotta consider this. Do you know how many episodes of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime there are? You know, hundreds. I might even be over 1,000. I don't know. I don't think it is, but it might be close to that. If you stretch it out between Season 0, Duel Monsters GX, 5Ds, Zexal, Arc V, and all the way up now to Vrains, plus all the movies and the OVAs, plus that hentai where Taya, Alexis, and Akiza all go to the beach together, you know, that there was that. If you include everything in Yu-Gi-Oh!, for the most part, they adhere to the rules of the card game. But when you get into Season 0 in the first season of Duel Monsters, you get some weird stuff. And I know it's adapted from the manga, but it is still really unusual, so I'm going to talk about it because I want to. Okay, so let's throw some build-up for this until we really get into the end of the duel, because that's when all the shenanigans kind of happen, when Yugi does the whole flotation ring shit. Okay, so PaniK is a player killer, or an eliminator hired by Pegasus, okay? The general idea here is that you have all the duelists on Duelist Kingdom going around and, you know, beating each other for star chips and everything, but then you have the player killers that are literally hired by Pegasus himself to go around and eliminate players, you know, just en masse in order to get them out of the tournament, basically just to end things quicker. And it's implied that all of these eliminators are highly skilled and they use dirty tricks in order to win. In the case with PaniK, he used intimidation. Intimidation paired with a pair of shackles that literally connect you to the dueling arena so you can't run away. And then a pair of flamethrowers attached to the side of said arena that will torch the opponent. And plus, I think he even had, like, when Yugi beat him, I think at the end, he's like, screw this! And he had, like, a pair of flamethrowers aimed directly at the opponent, like, just straight up, like, I'm torching your ass! You know, so PaniK don't screw around. Para and Dox were also eliminators, and they had their whole thing. I mentioned that when I did the Gate Guardian video, like, we are trapping you in a magical labyrinth. If you win, then you have to go into the labyrinth, and you may never come out, and then you'll probably starve to death or die of dehydration. You know, whatever. That's just what we're hired to do by Pegasus. So, PaniK duels against Mai first and defeats her, and then Yugi decides to step up and reclaim the star chips that she lost. Now, at first Yugi was having a little bit of an issue here because PaniK's thing is he duels in complete darkness. Hold up. Haha! Oh no. This isn't your average everyday darkness. This is advanced darkness. Oh, no, it's good. The flashlight just, flickered there for a second. Now, we're good. PaniK duels on a dark field, and so what he does is he summons the Castle of Dark Illusions on his first turn in defense mode, which spreads a fog of darkness around his side of the playing field. So Yugi cannot see any of the monsters that he summons, and even, because remember how the old dueling arena works? You have that giant, thing, and then in front of you, you have your cards, and you have, an opposite screen to see what your opponent is playing. Even that goes dark and blacks out, so it's like, oh man, I can't see his monsters. What am I gonna do? If it was me, if I was in the situation, I would just be like, alright, well, let's see here. I can't see the monster he just summoned, but I can play one of my monsters. Like, here's Curse of Dragon in attack mode, 2000 attack the darkness monster, and if it destroys it, then great. Either way, you'll have a good idea of the amount of attack points it has, because if you attack it and it's more attack, then you'll get the difference out of your opponent's life points, and you can tell that. Or if it destroys you'll at least have a good idea of how much stronger it is. But yeah, Yugi just plays defense for a little while though, because he has no idea what it is. At one point, he does summon Winged Dragon Guardian of the Fortress and uses the fireball attack to literally attack the darkness itself, illuminating the player field. You might think that alone would warrant, okay, he's attacking the darkness, so he's attacking the field. Oh, no. That at least makes sense, given the premise. He's like, I am summoning the darkness, because you have to also keep in mind, like I said, kind of the same thing with Mako, is that, earlier on, it's more of like a tabletop Dungeons and Dragon, moving the figures around sort of thing. So you gotta look at it like the darkness is an aspect of the game. Like in the actual Yu-Gi-Oh! Playing card game, if you just play the field spell Yami, it doesn't actually make your opponent's side of the field, all dark and everything so you can't see it. It just means that his dark monsters, his spellcasters and everything get a 200 attack point bonus. But in this version, it actually summons the Fog of Darkness, so you have to account for that. No, the whole castle destruction thing near the end, that's even more weird, and we'll get to it. But yeah, Yugi uses fireballs, and the light of that illuminates the field, seeing what PaniK's monsters are. This is also probably a good time to talk about the cards that PaniK uses. Mostly fiend types, monsters that lurk in the darkness, and all of PaniK's monsters have the unique feature of all having very unusual attack points. I think this is also a tall tale sign of, the time when they hadn't really figured out the mechanics of the card game itself. Like, when Takashi was doing the manga, or Takahashi, sorry, not Takashi. When Takahashi was doing the manga, he could basically set it up however he wanted. But when you're actually coming up with a card game, you gotta have rules set in place and everything. So I think for a while they were trying to figure out exactly what should we do with attack points? Should they all just end, as even numbers with zeros, or could we have other numbers? So usually you'll see a monster ending in either, 2 zeros or at least 50. and that'll be how most monsters end. However, PaniK's monsters, like the Reaper of the Cards, and BAROX, and Metal Guardian, and King of YAMIMAKAI, their attack or their defense, the Castle of Dark Illusions as well, their attack or defense are going to end in some weird number. Like, I remember Dark Chimera, his attack was 1610. That was also another card that didn't get introduced into the English TCG, but unlike Zanky, I don't really care about this. But seriously, I'm still fighting for you, Zanky. Konami, make this legit. Alright. Anyway, you also had BAROX, which was a fusion monster, but, you know, whatever. They could just throw it down whenever. And those were the kind of monsters that PaniK played. Now, Yugi eventually figured out a way to fight back against PaniK by basically intimidating him through his voice. So he couldn't see PaniK or his monsters, but he wouldn't let PaniK intimidate him. Instead, Yugi just starts up with, like, in 5 turns, PaniK, you will be defeated. Because he realizes, like, PaniK, you're nothing more than just a common thug or a thief that hunts their unsuspecting prey in the darkness. You set yourself up as, like, I'm this grand predator, but in reality, you're just like a low-level pickpocket, you know? You're just this really cowardly guy that has to use bluff and intimidation tactics in order to win, so Yugi uses his own variation of intimidation tactics and is just like, you know, in 5 turns, I'm gonna beat your ass and there's nothing you can do about it. At one point, he even draws his trump card and even shows it to PaniK, like, oh, I just drew my trump card. You wanna see it? And PaniK's like, Nani? And Yugi's like, it's the swords of revealing light. And PaniK's like, no! So, Yugi plays a card face down, and PaniK, like an idiot, is like, wait a second, he just showed me the swords of revealing light. It must be the card he played face down. There's no other option. So that's when he draws the Reaper of the Cards. And the Reaper of the Cards, actually, I think this is switched around in the card game as opposed to the anime. In the anime, I think he can destroy magic cards. In the actual card game, I think he destroys traps, if I'm not mistaken. So it's kind of flipped. Right, so what PaniK does is he orders the Reaper to attack what he thinks to be the set Swords of Revealing Light. He's like, Reaper, attack! So he goes down with the scythe, and then it's revealed that it's actually Yugi's trap card, the Spellbinding Circle, with the original hexagram card art, because, you know, you gotta change it over in 4Kids standards and practices. It's satanic, you can't have it. But anyway, yeah, because it's a trap card, not a magic card, the Reaper gets ensnared, and Yugi's able to destroy it. The fun thing is, if it was actually the way it worked in the original TCG, like the actual card game, then the Reaper would have been able to destroy the Spellbinding Circle with no problem. So, yeah, that's kind of an interesting little change-up they did there. So that's the end of the first episode of the duel between PaniK and Yugi. It's a 2-parter in the Japanese. And in the English, in the 4Kids, it's more of like an episode and a half, because they kind of cut down a bunch of scenes, or rather they compressed a bunch of scenes together. And you might be asking, well, why did they do that? What would be the point of it? It's like, oh, well, there actually is a really good reason for it, and this is 4Kids we're talking about. It's so they could have made a music video. Oh yeah! This is what I'm talking about!
I'm not gonna panic. Here in the shadows, phantom of the night, attack without warning, extinguish all light. Brave the darkness, make my stand right here. No matter how you come at me, I'll show no fear. I won't give up, I won't break down. I'm not gonna panic. I'm not gonna panic.
Who's that monster card? It's Metal Guardian! Okay, so, that's a rockin' song. I mean, what am I supposed to say? What am I supposed to say? Am I supposed to come up here and be like, that song sucked? I can't lie, I thought it was a toe tapper when I was a kid, and I still like it to this day. I'm not gonna panic. I was worried about copyright, but then again, I'm like, it's 4Kids. No one cares anymore, okay? But, yeah, that's what they did. They did, like, a whole montage scene. Like, the whole scene where Yugi uses the Spellbinding Circle against the Reaper. I think on the DVDs, or I have seen an English uncut version of that where they keep both episodes intact, but in the original run of it, and I think on like the original VHS releases, they kept that in, that freaking musical number thing. It made me really think like somebody in the 4Kids department, they had this song, like they're contractually obligated, like we need to use this song. I'm like, okay, well, just make it a freaking music video then. So the scene where he summons the Reaper and attacks the card, that's all just a music video montage, so you don't really get to see the whole strategy of what's going on there. But yeah, okay. So this is where we get to the fun part, though. The next episode, PaniK just begins to summon a bunch of different monsters, okay? We got the King of YAMIMAKAI, BAROX, Dark Chimera, and the Castle of Dark Illusion that looms over everything. PaniK also combines the Yellow Luster Shield card with the castle to create this giant pillar of yellow energy that increases the defense points of all of his monsters, including the castle. So, yeah, this is also a symbolism of PaniK being a coward and not wanting to fight directly, rather just through bluffs and intimidation, because he's relying purely on the defensive power of his monsters. But to be fair, the defensive power is pretty high. At the height of it, the Castle of Dark Illusions has a defense of like 3,200. Now, that's a lot of defense points, considering, once again, we're in like the first season of Yu-Gi-Oh! With like the Blue Eyes White Dragon supposedly like one of the strongest cards out there, and it only has 3,000 attack. So PaniK has buffed his defense beyond belief, and then of course adding on the Metal Guardian to increase it even further. So he's just laughing. I mean, he can't move because of Yugi's Sword's Revealing Light, but he's like, he doesn't have to because he's got so much freaking bulky defense, he thinks he's invincible. Oh, but here's where Yugi's strategy really takes hold, okay? So, give you a play-by-play of this. Yugi summons Gaia the Fierce Knight, fuses it with Curse of Dragon, makes Gaia the Dragon Champion. Okay, 2,600 attack, but it is still nothing before the awesome defensive wall that PaniK has at his disposal. That's when Yugi decides to play the Catapult Turtle and load his Dragonite on top of it, which increases its attack all the way up to 3,200. And his target is not PaniK's monsters on the ground, but the castle in the sky. PaniK scoffs at this. But Yugi, the castle has 3,200 defense points, and your Dragon Champion also has 3,200. So all that will happen, nothing will happen, basically. The monsters will just repel each other. Well, that's what it would happen in a normal duel. If you attack something that has the same defense as your attack, it would just like king, and then just neither monster would be destroyed, neither player would lose life points. So Yugi launches, Gaia the Dragon Champion at the castle, and it destroys Gaia. Yugi loses life points, but the castle remains in the air, except for one specific part of it, the flotation ring, that cracks and breaks and falls off. See, the thing why I call shenanigans on this is, like, where was that implied on the card? Like, even in the manga, it doesn't specify that. Like, Takahashi didn't come out and write on the card, like, by the way, there's also a flotation ring. Like, does the flotation ring have attack and defense points? Like, what? How does that even make any sort of sense? Like, it only destroys part of the monster, and PaniK doesn't lose life points, so once again, it really kind of is like a tabletop game in certain duels. Like, in only certain duels. Not every duel, but certain duels. Because think if you could do that. Think if you could do, like, called shot to the flotation ring. Like, I only attack the flotation ring. Imagine that. Imagine if you're dueling against, like, the Blue Eyes, and it's flying in the air. It's like, you can't attack my Blue Eyes, it's airborne. And I'm like, I specifically target the left wing of that Blue Eyes with a lightning bolt. And then one of my monsters attacks it and destroys the wing of the Blue Eyes, and Kaiba doesn't lose any life points or anything, but the dragon is no longer capable of flight. Like, that actually doesn't sound like that bad of a tabletop sort of, like, game. But, at the end of the day, that's not Yu-Gi-Oh, alright? So I'm like, holy crap, that was weird. So, but that's not the kicker. The kicker at the end of the day is the flotation ring is gone, so the only thing keeping up the castle now is the Sword's Revealing Light that locked it into place. Yugi ends his turn, the swords disappear, the castle begins to fall, and all of PaniK's monsters are trapped in this barrier, so they can't get away, so the castle crushes them, and then PaniK loses life points, even though I don't think the castle had a lot of defense points, but I don't think it had that much attack points. And if it didn't have attack points, then how were the monsters destroyed? Well, they were destroyed because a castle fell on them, but the castle didn't have attack points, but the castle floating in physics. And you see the issue here? it's like it's fun to talk about. It's like an interesting little factoid. Like, yeah, remember that time Yugi launched a knight at a freaking castle with a turtle, and it destroyed a bunch of monsters, and then PaniK just lost because he lost. Look, man, I love early Yu-Gi-Oh! It's great, and this is probably my one favorite moment where this kind of crap happens. You know, the Mako Tsunami attack the moon thing. There needs to be attack the castle. That's what there needs to be. There's like flotation ring destruction or something. Like, I don't even know what the effect would be. It's a magic card that you play, kind of like with Attack the Moon, which is an actual magic card now. But no, okay, I found the perfect effect that it would have. Okay, so you know how Attack the Moon, you know, it's not the exact same effect as if in the anime, like, summon a giant soldier of stone, change its attack position, and destroy one Umi on the field. You know, that would be ridiculously specific, right? So it's like, summon any rock-type monster, change its battle position, and you can destroy one magic or trap on the field. It makes sense. Okay, fine. But for destroy the flotation ring or flotation ring destruction, whatever you want to call it, make it an instant win condition card, but make the effect exactly like in the anime, where it's like, if your opponent has a Castle of Dark Illusions on their side of the field, while you also have Gaia the Dragon Champion and a Catapult Turtle on your side of the field, you instantly win the duel. It would be completely useless because nobody runs Castle of Dark Illusions, and with a card like that, certainly nobody would, but, you know, you could play that. You could have fun with it. You could keep a Castle of Dark Illusions in your deck, and then you could play it with, like, creature swap or something to get it on your opponent's side of the field, and then you do it? Yes, man, and, like, make it an instant win condition card with, you have to have all these cards on the field, but if you succeed at this, you can win the entire duel. Do something like that, Konami. That would be fun. Alright. But, yeah, that's pretty much the duel with PaniK. Afterwards, he throws a hissy fit and decides to try to burn the pharaoh alive, but Yami has, you know, demonic Egyptian powers, so he can block the fire and then literally crushes PaniK's mind. I think later on you see him in the Orichalcos arc as like a wandering spirit trapped in the nexus of realities, like, Yugi! But, yeah, we don't really get to see much from him after that. And PaniK was really one of the last duelists that really used monsters with all those really strange attack points and whatever. I mean, there's a few other duelists after that point that had weird attack and stuff, but PaniK was like the quintessential one that really utilized a lot of those cards. And the powers of darkness. In a very mundane way, I suppose. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you enjoyed that kickin' musical number, and, why not? Let's play it out with that. Don't panic, guys. Don't panic.